Hey, good afternoon. It is now, let's see here, 5:02, and I'll call the Master Plan Committee meeting of Wednesday, October 29th, 2005 to order. The first order of business is attendance roll call, and we'll start with Margaret.
Margaret Bacon, Linda Brown,
Dan Metcalf.
Woody Larrabee.
Ross Smith.
Mike Zucker.
Rebecca LaValle.
John Charbonneau, Town Planner.
Rich Preston.
is anybody excused or?
We have Rob Leonardi is going to be late, and I haven't heard from anyone else, so
Okay.
that's to be seen, but thank you.
All right.
Okay, and we have a quorum, so we are good to go. If you would be so kind, take a look at the minutes of October 15th. Tell me what you think. Everyone good? All right. Any thoughts, considerations, amendments to the minutes as presented?
Look good to me.
A motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Michael.
Second.
Seconded by Ross. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, those abstaining, the ayes have it. Thank you. So the next order of business is Right to Farm bylaw petition and Agricultural Committee petition discussion. Would you like to come up and join us? Do we have a couple seats for you?
I can give mine up. I'll sit in the audience.
I don't mind standing, it's fine.
No, we'll have you sit.
Bring up a chair. or-
How long is this going to be?
We'll see, we'll see.
Are you sure?
You're welcome.
Split us up.
So we have Lori Colbert.
I'm Lori,
Hey, Lori.
11
And-
Crescent Lane.
I'm sorry?
11 Crescent Lane.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't sure whether to ask or not. It seems so formal, but it's good to know. And Dallas Keeney.
Yes.
Hey, Dallas. Thank you for joining us. So before we start, obviously I know you've been going to certain committees and commissions and boards and making your presentation. So we'll give you the floor, make your presentation, and then I'll open it up to the committee. And I would ask committee members if, we usually try to run it pretty loose, but if you could be recognized, you'll have the floor. You can ask any and all questions and comments and considerations, and we'll go from there. All righty? The floor is yours.
So I believe that you all received a copy of both of the petitions and a copy of the 4 amendments that we'll be bringing to the floor. This is a right to farm bylaw and an agricultural commission. The right to farm itself is was written to reflect how we're already doing things as a town. There's really nothing new there. The Agricultural Commission is a new piece, and that would be a board of volunteers appointed by the Board of Selectmen. That's how it's set up under the state law for AgComs. And they would primarily be farmers, so that they would have the agriculture background to do the job. But there is room on it as well for other citizens who are non-farmers, so that that voice is also represented. So that is a volunteer board. Like I said, the Right to Farm is not really anything new. It's not a change or departure from what we've been doing. So there's no new cost to the town. There's no new salaries. There's no expenses. There's no financial impact for the town whatsoever. It's really about protecting the freedoms that we all currently already enjoy and that we have been handling responsibly as a town all this time.
That sums it up.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure.
So with that, I'll open it up to the committee. Anyone have any questions, comments?
Yeah, I would just ask, it doesn't change anything, what's the purpose of it?
So it is something that was actually recommended to the town back in 2007. The State Department of Conservation did a Douglas reconnaissance report, and it was a recommendation that was brought to the town, as that was two of the key findings from that report, were that to preserve agricultural land in Douglas, they recommended that the town put in place a right to farm and create an AgCom. The town at the time didn't move forward with that. I think it wasn't seen as necessary, but I think we've become more and more of a commuter with a bedroom community for Boston. If you look at a map of where the AgComs and the right to farm towns are in Douglas or in Massachusetts, you'll see that west of us everybody is, and around Boston there's a bubble that's not, and we're starting to be on that border. And we're starting to see that in things like the Board of Health. About a year and a half ago, they had started working on it earlier than that, but they really resurfaced the conversation about a year and a half ago, looking to put in some regulations that they wanted to have something to point to say what you can and can't do as a farmer in Douglas. And their approach was very restrictive. They wanted to put in permitting and fees, and they wanted to do things like animal units per acre. You were going to have to write written manure management plans and food management plans and pest control plans and submit maps of your property and your abutters' properties showing where all the structures are. It was really a cumbersome and unnecessary. We haven't been having significant issues. So it didn't make sense to us to start with this really restrictive approach. So we've been attending months and months of meetings with different boards. We brought it up to the Board of Health in January, that we thought a right to farm would be a more appropriate approach that's more in line with the character of Douglas. Douglas is a very freedom-loving town. And if the Board of Health needed something to point to say this is what you can do, a right to farm would represent that character of Douglas better. So that's kind of what's brought it to the forefront again, is that there were some restrictive regulations that were being pushed that didn't make a lot of sense for Douglas.
And the restrictions were in other towns, and they're moving this way, is that how I understood it?
They started with the Uxbridge rules, which are really cumbersome.
And so it's more of like just an as-of right. I'm familiar with like a site plan review process where there's just an extra layer of plans and approvals that need to go through town authorities to get certain approvals. That I work in electrical and solar and things like that, so I know about like building things on properties and stuff. So, but when you have as-of right zoning, for example, it pretty much just lifts a lot of regulations that don't apply in that case. Is this like similar to that? Forgive me that I haven't read this whole thing.
That's okay.
But is that kind of like along the same lines of what we're talking about?
It really, it makes official what we've been doing all along. We have in there that it's still, you have to still fall under all of the local zoning laws. You still have to apply, fall within all of the state, like animal welfare laws. You have to observe setback restrictions. All of those things already exist. And so it basically just says, as long as you are complying with all of those other things that already exist that protect animals, that protect abutters. There's already a complaint process in place. There's already an animal inspector in place. There's all of these things are still in place. We're not superseding any of that. We're just saying within that construct, you have the right to farm.
Are you all set, Dan? Do you have a
I don't
follow-up?
want to take over the whole thing.
Do you have a follow-up question? It's okay, we have
I
time.
do have a few other questions, but I don't want to take all the time.
Okay,
Let
no,
some other people-
all right, I'll leave that to you then.
Go ahead.
All right, Rebecca.
So I looked at Massachusetts' right to farm bylaw thing, and their thing says nothing about the nuisance and noise and all of that Douglas's has. Why did that get included?
It has the nuisance, noise, and odor.
Model right to farm. Model right to farm bylaw. Farming shall encompass activities but not limited to
State model.
Okay, all right, there it is, I apologize. Because that is one of my concerns, like, you give people an inch, they're gonna take a mile.
So one of the things to understand is that there is currently no restrictions other than the swine regulation that limits you to 4 pigs on 5 or more acres. So we're not granting any new rights that we haven't already had in existence as a town currently. But another thing that I think is important to understand is when you look at the part that talks about noise, dust, and odor, it talks about farming and doing these things as needed. So your commercial farmer may have certain things they have to do before a storm, or certain crops have to be harvested at night. And a hobby farmer is not going to be dealing with some of those things, same things, but like I know Dallas was doing some work on mitigating some mud in her pasture. She did that on a Saturday because it's reasonable to do that, right? But if she has a horse that's injured and she needs to operate equipment at 10 p.m.
No, I know
right?
that-
So it's an as needed. It's not a we're expecting this to happen all the time.
But people will always push those things, and because you're not allowing for people to register complaints.
We
are.
aren't stopping anyone from complaining about anything. We're asking that you speak to your neighbor before you send in an anonymous complaint about them.
It seems like you're trying to stop people from being able to.
In no way, shape, or form are we couldn't legally stop anyone from complaining even if we wanted to. That's not allowed. But it's saying that you live in a farming community, understand that these things might happen from time to time. So if you truly have an issue with something, speak to your neighbor about it first. Try to resolve it between neighbors. If it continues, submit a formal complaint. The animal inspector will check it out. Board of Health can become involved. The Agricultural Commission can become involved. And then it can become escalated. But we are truly just asking that people understand that this is a farming community. It always has been. We're just trying to protect what's already here.
Did you have anything else, Rebecca? Okay. Any other? Michael?
I just have one, a quick one. Most bylaws we write in the town, there's public hearings and all that kind of stuff held. Is any of that done on this? So that people, the community can all get together and help write and put in input and stuff for this bylaw? So like the planning board, any bylaws, anything that goes on, there's public hearings for a while till everything is vented out and discussed and then written and then approved. What process was involved in all this?
I have an answer for that. It was an animal control subcommittee. I was one of the members of that subcommittee. I believe we met for at least 5 months. And prior to that, it was Board of Health that was writing this. It was all televised. It was all over the TV.
Was it posted that there's public hearings on it?
It wasn't a public hearing.
Okay,
It
so
was a
that-
meeting.
my-
It was a public
If I may,
meeting.
through the chair.
Yep, just one person at a
The question
time.
was asked, was it a public hearings? involved?
The answer
And
is it's
If
not.
it's not posted,
No.
then it's not a public hearing.
Right.
So that's a law.
We had an agenda,
No.
and it was on
Through
there.
the chair, I just asked a simple question. It was a public hearings.
The thing is, this is a citizen's petition, too.
Thank you.
But I think what Michael's getting to, and I don't want to speak for you, is that normally with general bylaws and zoning bylaws, there is a formal public hearing process where it's advertised and people can come in and anybody can have a voice, and we're quite often used to that. But I'm not speaking for you, but I believe that's what you're getting to. Okay.
So the process for this was, we've been attending Board of Health meetings since, some of us since last fall and some of us since January. If you go back, there's been a lot of conversation between the advocacy group leaders and the Board of Health, and then we attended every one of the animal regulation subcommittee members as well. The vice chair is one of the people who's in the leadership for this group. We tried to work with the Board of Health on Right to Farm, and they were not interested in talking to us about it. We did have some good conversations with the Animal Regulation Subcommittee, and they did eventually strip out a lot of the more cumbersome restrictions that the Board of Health had been looking at, and they came around to recommending a Right to Farm bylaw and passing that along. At that point, we did not have a board that was putting forth a Right to Farm bylaw with us and for us, and so we did a citizens petition. We held, I would guess, probably 10 or so petition signing events at the library and collected and submitted over 400 signatures. We have talked to hundreds and hundreds of people in town, and this is what they told us they want.
Okay. Did you have anything else, Michael?
And it's just a process. It's a bylaw. That's all I'm getting at.
Okay.
I know how it's normally done. So thank you.
And, sorry,
So to follow up on your question, I mean, so is there an opportunity to make amendments to this, I guess, is maybe kind of the question you're getting to?
So there's,
Suggestions?
as it stands, because it was a citizens petition, it can't be amended prior to town meeting, but it can be amended from the floor at town meeting. That's where we have the 4 amendments that adjust some of the things that were based on some of the feedback that we got in talking to the Board of Selectmen. It's been through legal review with town council and has been cleared. So there are amendments that are coming to the floor to address those few small issues, but it is like any other bylaw that you could amend it at a future town meeting if that was a process that the town felt was necessary.
anything else, Dan?
So that sounds like there's not a way to amend it as it is until the
Town meeting. Correct.
Okay.
Because it's a citizen's petition, it has to be presented on the warrant exactly as the petitioner signed it.
Okay. Any other members have questions? Bob, did you have? I'm sorry, Ross?
Yeah. No, go ahead. So as a right to farm bylaw, I guess my question would be, what does the state consider a farm to be protected under this bylaw? Do you have to be considered a farm? And if so, what does the state consider a farm?
So there's a couple of different types of farm. There's a distinction between a commercial farm and a non-commercial or hobby farm. The state definition for a commercial farm is 5 acres or more, or it can be 2 to 5 acres if you produce a certain amount of income per acre and get a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals. So that's commercial farming from the state's perspective, and that's in line with what we have in our zoning bylaw. There is also hobby farming or non-commercial farming, which is all other forms of farming, and that can be done on any size lot. The state model for right to farm is primarily geared towards commercial, but the model for the state is meant to be a model. It's not. If you look at the different right to farm bylaws that have been passed in different towns in Massachusetts, and there are 140 of them, each town is allowed to customize their right to farm bylaw to fit their town. That's why it's not a state level law, it's a state model. It's meant to be adapted so that you can adapt it to your town. So that's what we did, is we took it and we looked at Douglas, which has a little bit of commercial farming, but the vast majority of farming in Douglas is hobby farming or non-commercial farming. So it doesn't make any sense to have a right to farm that doesn't represent the majority of the farming that currently goes on in Douglas. So I don't know if that answers your question. This covers both
In a
types.
roundabout way, yeah, it does. I just didn't know what definition of farm to be proper, I guess. You know.
So 5 acres sounds about it. So you're talking about.
Hold on, Dan, I'm sorry. So we're going to do it one at a time,
Yeah.
okay? Do you have anything else, Ross?
No, she's pretty much in.
That's a good question.
And there's about a page of the right to farm bylaw that defines what farming is, and then it's the distinction between commercial and non-commercial.
So at this point, I'll get back to you, Dan, sorry. But I want to go to those members who haven't had an opportunity, may want to speak. Did you have anything, Bob?
No, I was just going to say, and I think John will agree with me, the citizens petition bypasses the public hearing process, which Mike is alluding to.
Yes, it
Is that
does.
correct?
Yes, it does. Well, as a general bylaw, not a zoning. If it were a zoning bylaw, then the planning board would be required to hold a public hearing, even a citizen's petition, but a general bylaw does not.
Okay. Anything else, Bob?
No,
Anyone else? Margaret?
Yeah, thanks for coming. So is this allowed in any zone? Because right now, don't you have to be in rural agricultural to,
You do not. It's already any zone. There's no restriction.
So if you look at the
so if I
schedule of
wanted
use-
horses, I can have them in any zone?
Yes.
But right now, under the current zone, I can only have them in,
You can have them anywhere.
with not a minimum size lot or
You
anything
can have
like
a
that?
horse on a quarter of an acre if you want.
Okay, any zone.
You'd have to be following the setbacks, you'd have to be able to look at your lot and say, do I have the room to do this? Is there room for me to have my structures where they need to be? And can I, in that space, fit the animal welfare regulations and all of those things?
And so the animal welfare regulations, that tells you how many animals per acre or makes
No.
recommendations, so,
Does not. Generally accepted agricultural practices, there's a couple of different universities that have posted their general recommendations, but in there we do talk about how you must be upholding the state animal welfare, and Massachusetts has some pretty intense animal welfare guidelines for livestock as well to prevent overcrowding and disease issues and manure problems. So as long as you're following those, you have a vet who's saying, yep, you have the space for this, but, you know, it's been one of the complaints we've been getting about this is people are going to put a herd of cows on a quarter acre. Well,
or a zillion chickens.
no, resilient, yeah.
Yeah.
But that would be breaking state animal welfare laws, which is already a law, so
Okay, so in summer, if you had to condense this all into just 3 or 4 sentences, what is the big difference between what you're proposing and what's already on the books right now under the state law?
This just states that we have the right to farm and that that can't be restricted in a cumbersome way.
We don't have that right now?
we're enshrining that right.
For what?
We're enshrining that right. We're putting it in
okay.
writing because that's really where this stemmed from, was restrictions coming down the line and very arbitrary numbers and situations that there was no one way to make a situational rule that worked for every single person. It's just not possible. It's not possible for every animal. So this essentially puts that responsibility on the property owner, the animal inspector, the Board of Health, and then the Agricultural Commission, if there's an ever a real problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Margaret. Anyone else? And anybody else for a second time? Sorry. Dan?
Thanks. Just to follow up on Ross's question, so the 5 acre that you mentioned, is it 5 acres of actual farmland, or we're talking a 5 acre parcel?
It's a 5-acre parcel.
So you can have a 6 acre parcel with a quarter acre of tomatoes, and now you're a farm, now you're a commercial farm.
No, you still have to have all your licensing in a row. You still have to be an actual farm. But the 5 acre rule is just the state saying, okay, well, that's the minimum for tax purposes. 61A is the big one. And then they lowered it because understandably, you can have a pretty solid farming operation on 2 acres.
Right.
So that is, again, commercial only. That's a little bit different subset of what we're really ultimately protecting with this. But yeah, there's a lot of tax law that goes into being a true farm,
Right.
for sure.
It's not a question specifically related to the farm, but I think it has more to do with the animal authority person. I think you might have been part of the board, but as far as nuisance laws are concerned, if you have like a barking dog, I mean, what's the current rules for if your neighbor's dog is just relentless, 24/7, noise. Like, what's the remedy for the neighborhood to deal with that? I know you can call and complain, and dog controllers can come over every day. I mean, is there where's the line drawn of when that situation is going to be dealt with?
We already have a dog control bylaw on the books for years. So this would be more for, if a chicken makes too much
That's what I'm
noise.
saying. Now we don't have a dog.
Not
Now
a
we have
dog.
rooster.
Dogs are out of this
It's
bylaw.
It's again why we are wanting the Agricultural Commission as well, because a lot of problems are just simply people don't understand what animals need, or they don't understand how to mitigate problems or prevent them before they occur. So if you bring in an educational body who really does have that information, you can have owners or the property owners speak with each other if a problem does occur. If it's obviously a neglect issue, animal abuse, overcrowding, immediately escalate that, absolutely. We don't want anybody to become, malicious with their animals in any way. But if it's a rooster crowing, well, there's a lot of ways to mitigate that without having to ask somebody to get rid of their roosters. So.
How do you mitigate that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, I mean, I agree with being friendly with your neighbors, but if, say, if you're trying to like sell a house and you go look at a house and on one side you have a neighbor whose dog is barking a lot and the other one you have a rooster that's crowing a lot. It sounds like there's a process for one, but not a process for the other. Is that?
There really isn't a process right now. We're trying to design that and make it better.
Okay. Anything else, Dan? We can come back to you.
I have one
Yeah,
quick,
it's passed.
Okay.
I have one quick.
I'm sorry.
How do you mitigate a crowing rooster?
Depends on their shelters, but there's a lot of ways to trick them into thinking it's a longer night, so they're not going to start crowing at 4 a.m. So,
Okay.
Anything else, Margaret?
No, that's,
Michael?
I was just hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, this is a private petition being,
A citizen's petition, right?
but then I heard that it was been reviewed by town council? How does me, a private citizen, go and say, here, town council, I want you to review my stuff? How does that all interact? I only thought town council was designed for the members of the town boards. Am I right or wrong?
that was a call by.
I'm just asking that. I mean, this is a private petition, so if any one of us want to do a petition, it's on us to do that.
I think it's
So
good.
how does that work where we use town council, which is our tax dollars, to review a private petition?
I can tell you how it went, how that unfolded here.
I'm throwing it out there, so I mean,
So we were invited by the Board of Selectmen to come and present the petitions, which we did in mid-August, I believe it was.
Yeah, end of August,
I think. So they had them at that point, and the town administrator made the decision that he wanted to have it looked at by town council. I believe because, after this passes at town meeting, then the next step is for it to go to the State Attorney General's office, and he wanted to make sure that if this moved forward, that it wouldn't encounter any issues at the Attorney General's office for protecting the reputation of the town. He wanted to make sure that everything was legally sound before that occurred, and so he made that decision to send it to the town council.
if I may, on a follow-up, then have all previous private petitions gone through the same process? If not, why are we favoring one over others, is my only question. And I don't know that answer, but I know on town meetings, I've been to many, there's been many private petitions brought forth at town meeting. Have all those gone through the same process using town council before they go to town meeting?
I think it's a good question, Michael, and that's something we should probably bring to
Just something I'm throwing out there.
to the town administrator.
Because I just heard, I wasn't sure how this all came down, and when I heard it was a private petition, then I hear town council is being used. I just kind of throw that out there where I personally don't think it's fair. If I bring something forward, it's my own council that's going to review it. It's my own deal. If it fails or whatever, it's all on me. Why are we using town resources on something that's being brought by not a board?
Yeah. John? You're awfully
I-
quiet.
Yeah, I have no answer on that. That's,
Okay.
Yeah.
It could be, no,
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Answer on that. So it is under the discretion of the town administrator if he wants to proceed any citizen's petition to town council.
Okay.
Anything, even if you want to paint the sidewalk a different color, you got a citizen's petition. It's more for language to make sure it's presented properly, I guess, wording. But it's at the discretion of the town administrator. He does have
And I think if I could, if you take a look at it, I read through it and I read through council's recommendation, it really benefits, I think it benefits the town. You could argue it benefits
Yeah,
the town.
which is fine.
Their recommendations, and I think those recommendations have been accepted by petitioners, so.
Okay.
The other thing that I would add is my understanding of it, just from conversations that have been around hiring new land counsel for the town, is that the town pays town council a flat rate. It's not an hourly rate, and so they are on retainer, and so whether, it's not an additional cost for them to have used town council to review this, they were already paying that monthly or whatever it is, flat rate that they pay.
My understanding, that's only for so many hours, up to a certain hour
Yeah,
cap.
there is a cap on it.
There is an hour cap on that.
So it's at the discretion of the town administrator, yeah, but it's a good
It is,
question.
but Just something to
That's-
pick up on.
It's a good,
Didn't know- Yeah.
you know,
Because a lot of people that brings petitions forward don't realize that they do have the option, or they can even request that the administrator bring it through.
we're learning something new every day, Ross. Any other?
The citizens
Sorry?
petition also, I would mention, was a recommendation from Mike Fitzpatrick. That's how we started moving forward with it, is we were at an animal regulation subcommittee meeting, and somebody on the committee asked, so, how would a right to farm bylaw move forward? And Mike, who's also a selectman, who's the chair of the subcommittee, said, well, if you didn't have a board that was putting it forward, you could do a citizens petition. So that was where we had the recommendation to move forward in this manner.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the committee? Of course, Dan.
Okay, so there's nothing existing on the books that would prevent your neighbor who is upwind from getting, 4 cows that moo and manure all day, and you get the overflow of that. There's nothing preventing that today.
Correct.
And this doesn't do anything above and beyond, because you still have to follow all the animal safety and health regulations of the state and all that. That's basically it. So it doesn't actually give anything more than what's already available. It just enshrines what we already have.
Just protects that freedom. Yep.
Any other comments from the committee? All right, with that, I'll open it to the audience if anyone has any comments. Did you have something, Michael? Are you done? Michael? No, this Michael here.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, yes. Could you just give your name and your address, please?
Angela Rice, 829 Northwest Main Street. If I could, there was a couple questions that went around that we've gotten a lot of. If I could answer a couple of those
Sure.
a little more clearly, just by listening in the back.
Yep.
The nuisance complaints, we get a lot of people that say, well, I can't complain. That is not what we're saying at all. The current situation, if you have a complaint with a neighbor that has animals, they're allowed to currently. The current complaint system is an anonymous system that takes a lot of time to come around to the person that's causing the disturbance with their animals to their neighbor. It's not an effective system right now. We are trying to put in place a system that is effective by creating the AgCom that solves a lot of the problems that are current, especially when you're saying, Dan, I believe was your name? Hi. You had said this isn't really fixing any problems that could come. The creation of the AgCom is the biggest part of this, so it makes people accountable. It's the group that would make people accountable if there are real problems, if there's complaints that aren't being addressed. That's where you would go. And this would be a knowledgeable group that would be able to solve the problems. Like your crowing rooster, you're saying, well, there's someone to go to with dogs barking. If you have a cow that keeps getting out and running through your garden, you now have a group that you can go to that'll help you solve that issue. Currently, there's not a agricultural group to help you solve a problem. There is a complaint process. It takes months. It's anonymous. And you can have several complaints against you and not know about it. So that's why we're encouraging you to go talk to your neighbor first, and then you can have the animal inspector come out and check out the complaint. If there's a legitimate complaint, you have the AgCom to go to of, we have this problem, how are we going to fix it? So we're actually trying to fix that. We're trying to get something in place that's a system that functions. Whereas currently, you can do whatever you want, but there's this complaint process that's not really effective. So we're trying to create a space where we can take in complaints and there's a system of filing. Are these legitimate complaints? Are these not? Then in the wording of the bylaw where it says the nuisance complaint is defined as you make the same complaint several times, it has gone through the animal inspector who has deemed it not to be a legitimate complaint, and then you file that complaint again. That's what creates it to be a nuisance complaint. A lot of people read this and say, well, you say you can't complain. That's not what a nuisance complaint is, and we are giving an avenue that's effective if you're having a problem with your neighbor, to be able to discuss your problems and have the animal inspector come out to look at the problem. And then if the problem needs to be solved, now there's an AdCom to help you solve that. Whether it be education for the animal owner or whether it be discussing with the neighbor and the animal owner something they can both live with.
So does the animal control officer, is he part of the authority person that we would call in?
The animal control officer is already, yeah, the animal control officer, Lori or Dallas, correct me if I'm wrong, is already the person that the complaints go to, who goes out to investigate the complaints. And at that point, if he's not able to solve the issues, it would then go to the AdCom if the right to farm and AdCom are put through his bylaws.
The animal inspector's job primarily right now, I mean, ultimately falls under the MDR for the state, is do the animals have adequate food, shelter, and water? Are they well maintained? You know, obviously, is it a safe environment? They have to do yearly barn inspections, but as it stands, if a complaint comes in right now, it goes anonymously to the Board of Health. The animal inspector goes out, doesn't really know what they're walking into, and then if there is a problem, there's no educational body in town to actually help mitigate that. Like, it can keep getting reported. Obviously, again, if it's abuse, neglect, or something like that, that's a different situation. But having a rooster that crows, or a goat that yelled because it wanted hay or something, like that education isn't there to actually help the issue on either side, either telling people, yeah, goats are going to make noise sometimes, or you can help your rooster not crow at 4 a.m. if you just do these things. That's ultimately what Angela was getting to. We're building that system because we do understand there are real issues. We want to help fix them, but we also don't want to take anybody's rights away.
Okay.
So I think that the Agricultural Commission would be coming alongside the Board of Health. The Board of Health deals with a lot of different things, and to expect them to have the agricultural background to resolve these issues is not practical. They need a body to come alongside them that already has that knowledge to assist them in resolving these complaints. And they have limited resources as well. So we are trying to cut down on the repeated complaints of the same things that have been investigated and found to be in full compliance. We're trying to have the AdCom do more education in the community as well, all to try to eliminate some of the complaints that don't have any legal basis or could be easily resolved with conversations with neighbors, trying to eliminate those things, and that should free up some resources for the Board of Health and the animal inspector to focus on legitimately problematic complaints, because those do come up every once in a while. But if they are busy with dealing with things that really don't need to be addressed by the Board of Health, it's inefficient.
Okay, I'd like to move on to the rest of the, anyone else in the audience have questions or comments? Are you all set? Okay, great. Any other questions or comments from the committee?
Yeah, Rich, this is Bob Moran. Hi.
Hey, Bob.
I'm sorry, I'm not in the room. Just a quick question. Will it be possible to approve the creation of an agricultural commission without approving right to farm? Or is this, two items together?
They're separate articles for town vote.
Sorry, I can't hear the audio there.
Do you want to move the mic down towards your mouth? Yeah.
Is that better? So there are separate articles on the citizens petition as of now. Had we been able to work with a different board earlier, then it is possible that an agricultural commission could have been established prior to this. But as of right now, they're both going to vote on November 17th as separate articles.
Okay. That answers the question. Thank you.
Anything else, Bob?
Nope.
All righty.
Thanks. Moving on.
Anyone else from the committee? Dan?
Yeah, so.
Okay.
So it sounds like this right to farm bylaw does establish just a different nuisance protocol. So that is a substantive change to what already exists. So just noting that. So just a different line of thought, though. I mean, we got a burger joint downtown, brick and mortar, pays the taxes, does all that stuff, and then a hobby burger guy has a hot dog stand that he just drives and parks up front. Is there a conflict between the commercial farmers that have that establishment, like that's their thing, versus all the hobby farms that could just pop up all around them? Because I've seen the hot dog thing happen and the burger thing. Is there any type of similar situation where they can kind of fly under the radar of the regulations that the commercial farmings have to abide by, and selling apples or raising cows or whatever? I can have 4 cows by right, but my neighbor who's a commercial farmer has 100 cows that he has to pay up the wazoo to have that established. I don't know if that's ever been brought up, if it's even a thing, or if I'm just making it up.
No, you're not making it up, but I mean, most people who hobby farm do it for themselves because they just want to enjoy doing it. Yeah, people maybe will sell excess or donate excess food, but I don't imagine that turning into something where suddenly you have people trying to fly under the radar and not do proper state licensing to be a business and get the business benefits. You can't get tax credits as a farm unless you are a registered farm.
Alrighty. Well, good questions, good conversation. Do you have anything else to add in closing, if you will?
Thank you
I
for
hope
letting us
everybody
speak.
will come out November 17th and vote, no matter where you stand on the issue. That's why we wanted it to come to town meeting, is we want people to have their voices heard and exercise their vote.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having
Bye.
us.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hi there. You've been very patient.
No, that was good. That was really informational. Sadly, Sam isn't here. He's sick today.
Oh, okay.
So I thought he maybe would join online, but
So,
They weren't on.
thank you. That was actually a very good conversation. So, Emily and another staff member, do you want to introduce your?
yeah, this is Gabe Trevor.
Gabe.
Hi.
Hey, Gabe.
I do land use and zoning planning primarily, so that's why we're talking about the land use chapter today.
Hey, Emily, the floor is yours, as they say.
Sure. Before we get into the chapters, so at the last meeting a couple weeks ago, I had brought up the idea of doing a community photo contest. So I drafted up like a flyer we could use and some rules. So I'd love to just take a few minutes and kind of go over those. Just take these around. And I will share online for all.
Don't do that.
Well, I'm sorry.
There we go.
Just coming back around.
Too bad we're missing the fall foliage on this.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Sam was able to get out a couple weeks ago and take some fall photos in like the forest and he went around town, so we will have some.
Here's some more.
Someone needs to take a picture of the common right now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
With all the
That's right.
scarecrows and
Yeah,
everything is just beautiful.
yeah, you're right.
You are good work.
Quick question. I've been hearing a lot that people are not as crazy about the QR codes because of them being easy to hack. Should you have an email, a web address on there
Oh,
as
yeah.
well, just in case there are people who won't?
Yep. I will add that in.
Can you bring the mic down, Rebecca, a little bit? Sorry. No, I won't be able to hear you when I review this.
Yeah, any thoughts on the flyer? So I came up with the categories. These, I just kind of made these based on what I thought would be helpful for the chapters. So natural resources and agriculture, sports and rec, history and landmarks, transportation and mobility, homes and businesses, community and culture, and then just anyone under 18, we could have just a separate youth category for them. And then we could get a gift card for each of these categories. And then the committee would be the one to vote on it, so we'll come up with the best way to kind of structure that. I guess I had a question on how long we want to keep this open. I forget what we said at the last meeting. Maybe like end of February or mid-February?
What works best for you?
Trying to think.
We have a meeting on possibly February 18th.
Oh, okay. Maybe we
The
could,
calendar, we haven't approved it yet, but it's on there.
yeah, and then we could, yeah, so maybe mid-February, like the 15th.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and then maybe at that meeting, we could hold some kind of vote or something.
At least start to see what's.
Yeah, check
So
in.
Emily, since the the contest can be open for that long, maybe kind of a reminder periodically at certain points every few weeks, reminding people that it's available.
Great idea, yeah, because we still have our social media accounts.
Any way you could use something like a Google Drive folder or something to upload the photos so we would be able to look at them, so it would be easier for us to kind of have an idea what's going on rather than coming in that night and having them kind of thrown at us?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Come on, be surprised.
I know.
Will we qualify the youth that's under 18? Will we write that in here somewhere, or unless I'm missing it?
I wrote it in the actual,
Under the categories.
Okay,
like instructions here.
I see it, thank you.
But I can
Nope.
clarify that on the,
It's there.
Have in mind for gift cards?
I don't know, what do you think?
Well, first of all, the legality of it. Has anybody checked into spending public funds with gift cards?
Yeah, I mean, we did it for the workshop. I think somebody had checked then and said it was okay. I'll double check too, just to make sure.
Thing about pizza.
I know the library, Jean's got us on strict rules on what we can and can't buy for, like, gift cards. The library, we can't with library funds. It becomes one of...
That's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, it becomes one of those sticky lines for us.
Yeah.
Because it's public money, not our money.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll double check on that. If we can't use it from the grant, we'll find another way. I know one of my colleagues is running a photo contest for another master plan, so I'll just check with her how she's doing gift prize. I think she was doing cash prizes too, so
So,
I don't know how they're doing.
John, can we get an opinion on that? Because it is a master plan expense, and that line item has been allocated for master plan, so.
Put you in dunk tank and just give them balls.
Get advertised.
Yeah, you get to
Where
win
does this get
a
advertised?
bucket of balls.
How do people find out about this?
Good question.
Good question.
So I can ask Matt about that tomorrow. He'll know from a procurement standpoint.
Okay, thank you.
And if we do get that approved, gift cards from our local businesses would obviously be...
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Sure.
Not that we have a ton of businesses, but...
Pizza. That's what it is.
Ice cream lady.
Is it possible to approach local business to see if they would present
Yeah.
a gift certificate?
Well,
They might.
they could always donate it. I know.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Things like when I did my Eagle Scout project, got donations for materials and things like
Right.
that. So maybe that's the way to go. So we
Maybe
avoid
that'll
the whole
clear it.
funding problem.
Right, and then we could add like their logos or something on here, so we're
Yeah, I
saying,
think-
hey,
I
you
think
get
that's the way-
advertising.
Is if they donate it, then it's a tax write-off for them, and the town doesn't have to worry about spending public funds. That's a great idea.
I have an idea.
Now, donation, would we have to accept it through the selectmen, like we do every other
Yeah.
donation?
Thanks, Bob. We were there.
Pizza goes a long way, right? Gotta be cold by the time they eat it. That's another good question.
Just ask for forgiveness after.
Yeah, I'll check on both of those.
Okay.
It's just the timing of the contest itself, going through February. So as a master plan, we couldn't extend this for one full year, could we? Because now we're just talking about Douglas photos in, now fall and winter. That's it. Spring pictures.
People can
we had brought
submit
that up
what they have on their
before,
phone.
And people are going to have photos on their phone. They could submit.
Yeah, if you keep something like this open too long, it's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to keep it open
submit
too long.
anything, but I understand, yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
I have an idea for a rule, or an idea doesn't even need to be in the rules, but maybe people should have like a caption, like just an explanation of what the photo is, because I can imagine if you go out to Douglas State Forest and take a picture of trees, like you should be able to say.
Yeah, we include that as a brief description of the photo's content, location, and what category it represents.
Should they have to prove it's from Douglas?
That's right.
Well, take a picture of a covered bridge in Vermont?
Well, that's why we need the committee to vet it.
I didn't know Douglas had a covered bridge.
I think if we ask people,
I think that's Niagara Falls.
I think that has happened I've heard of that happening.
30-foot waves.
There you go. Sometimes in Worcester, people will pull a picture from Worcester, England.
Is Worcester, England nicer than Worcester, Massachusetts?
Yes, I went there last year to check it out, and it was beautiful.
Douglas, Arizona, we could have pictures of cactus.
We do have a floor in Massachusetts, right?
Yeah,
does the town have like a sister city? That'd be cool.
So the pictures are to be only from Douglas?
Yes.
Of areas in Douglas?
It would seem obvious, but I think you have to stipulate that.
Yeah, so I put...
That needs to be on here.
Well, so there's a link to the actual full rules, so that's what this second page is, and this page will be on a web page as part of the master plan
I think
website.
you need to be right up front with what photos
Yeah,
we're
I was
accepting.
joking, but I guess not.
Well, it says submit your photos of Douglas to be
Yes.
featured in the master
Yes.
plan.
Douglas, Massachusetts.
Douglas, MA.
Douglas, Massachusetts series.
Yeah, Douglas.
Area code 01516. Here is the exact longitude and
Attach a
latitude.
map.
And this is open to Douglas citizens only, right? So residents,
Yeah.
Douglas residents of Douglas.
I can't submit a picture.
So
I guess it could, the community.
where's this going to get advertised? I mean,
Yeah,
how's it
that's the
gonna
next
reach?
question.
Do people have to go to the website, or is there a way to?
Yeah, so
We can put this up on the master plan webpage. We could also put it on the main webpage of the town for a period of time.
Yeah,
Have it as
yeah,
part of the
that would
page.
get.
Post up the
Yeah.
businesses, library.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, we could have copies of these at town meeting,
Ooh, yes.
November 17th.
That would be a big
I would
draw.
I'd be willing to submit my business.
That would be a pack.
Like, I wonder if
That's a good idea.
Thanks, Russ.
You'd have to talk about that.
Yeah.
See, this is the master plan I know and love, a free-for-all. Always you go, you go, you go. Come on.
Maybe the schools too,
Yeah?
since we have a youth category.
Put copies at the library.
So if we're going to hand these
No,
out
we don't want that.
at the town meeting,
Yeah.
which is the 17th,
Okay,
are
now,
we meeting before then? We must be.
I think we're meeting right after.
We're meeting
Because
2
we
days
need these for
after.
the meeting, the town meeting.
Yeah.
The 17th.
so Emily, if you want me to, I can make copies of this and put them at I know they don't like the term the senior center, but the senior center.
Yes.
The adult social center.
Yeah, the adult, thank you, the adult, I gotta get used to that. But the public library, we could put it, we could have copies here.
Yeah.
At town hall.
Yeah, that'd be great. Or I can print them and drop them off.
Yeah,
Anyway.
either, whatever you want to do.
So before you make copies, though, if you're looking for what type of donations, monetary donations from local businesses? And if you're going to advertise them on these flyers, was that
need to have
that
that first.
plan? Yeah, so we probably want to,
Yeah, so
Or we
first
could
we'll check
always
that.
we could always just say prizes to be determined
Yeah.
later. We don't have to say exactly what the prizes are now.
I agree.
But to tell the businesses,
yeah, they're getting advertised.
they would have been advertised, but now it's too late, you know?
Right, that's all.
If we print this up ahead of time, before we get their donation.
But I mean, this could be round one of flyers. I mean, you could always update the website with the flyer. I mean, look at the way the thing at the park, Picnic at the Park does it. They start with only a little bit, and then as more people come on, their flyers get changed, they get updated, they add people, it goes on Facebook, so-and-so just donated, so-and-so just donated, and it constantly changes. Who says we can't have a living flyer-type situation on this, the same way they do?
Yeah, I know as a small business, I get hit up all the time from people looking for donations. So sometimes it gets my attention when you get something, for your donation,
I'm just saying, like, it might be a way, if we wanted to get it started, we could start this, and then as it updates, you see it rolling in. So-and-so's donated, so-and-so's donated, and you just start adding as it happens.
You're supposed to do that out of the kindness of your heart. What's this, get something for your donation?
I'd go look. Believe all the calls I get. I'm sure you get the same.
Big heart, small wallet.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we're on the time crunch and we want to get it to town meeting, we might have to juggle things a little bit as well.
Especially if we're not having another meeting until.
I think, I like your point. We don't have to have all the answers on the prizes right now. Get people to participate and get them.
Maybe just put prizes.
Yeah.
Instead of specific like gift cards, just put prizes.
Yeah.
Prizes will be awarded for each category.
You get a handshake with the town administrator.
Wow, that's people be lining up.
So John,
Yes.
if you would be the one to put these at town meeting?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I would do that. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Yes.
So if Emily were to make some changes to this, would you be able to send it to us so that we could be like, yep, we all approve, and just, so it could be at town meeting?
We have an email list of all the members, so yeah, I can distribute it.
Because we won't meet before town meeting, that way we can all just be like, yeah, we're okay with the final.
Could there be a consensus? Let's say you do get some donations before you do a reprint. Go ahead, put their logos, whatever, on here, then do it, or leave it the way it is, or?
Well, there's only a certain amount of prizes, like there are different categories. There's going to be a prize for, how many prizes are going to be given out?
I guess 7.
So 7, so, yeah.
Or we wanted maybe like the feature photo, like the cover photo or something. So maybe 8,
Once we
yeah.
have the appropriate number of donations, we can advertise that.
If this is sent out and you're looking for input from all of us, we have to be careful of the open meeting law.
Yes.
Yeah,
No, but
okay.
that's how you do it. Don't reply to all. Send any comments just to me.
Okay.
And that's how you not run afoul of the.
Okay, just a thought.
Yep.
Good.
I'm just looking at the rules. Does everything look okay in terms of rules? Photos have to be taken by you. Don't submit any AI-generated images. You never know. It's getting harder to tell the difference.
Seriously, you're not kidding. Everything within the bounds of propriety.
Bob, those
Yeah.
pictures of you in Tahiti.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. We reserve the right to reject anything that might have profanity, et cetera.
Actually, Emily, on my new Google Pixel, if I use AI to manage a photo, it gets tagged in the photo.
Whoa.
That this
Oh, AI generated, yeah.
That's on Google Photos?
Interesting.
So we could use that.
Yeah, you might want to check like they have like the metadata on the photo. So you might have that if you like go to the properties of the photo.
Things have become so complicated.
I know, right?
Well, I was going to say,
Old-fashioned things.
Yeah.
would it, that would be the other question, would they have to be digitally submitted?
Yeah, so there will be a
lot of
link.
historical photos might
Yeah,
not be.
because if they're going to be included in the master plan, they have to have a copy.
Yeah,
that
we
they
need
can
it digital.
Paste into the master plan.
Historicals could be scanned.
None of those Kodaks, Insta cameras or anything.
The old Polaroid.
Where you have to shake it.
Someone mailing in their name.
Some of us remember those, John.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, life was
And the
simple back
quality.
then.
What they call it, a swinger, I think it was?
Yeah, the swinger camera, that was big.
People do a lot of really cool stuff with the expired film lately.
Question, one of the rules here says, right to objectionable content based on profanity, nudity, drugs, alcohol, tobacco use. Could we just simplify that to illegal? Alcohol is illegal. Tobacco is legal. I'm just saying, why would we?
Yeah, so Bob, no pictures of you drinking beer in okay.
The balcony shot.
Culture.
That's right.
Culturally accepted.
It's a Corona.
I would just maybe simplify it to objectionable content, and then
Yes.
then the committee has oversight. So if it's, the difference between someone at Oktoberfest and then someone, a college party with a bunch of red Solo cups.
Talking about a campfire.
Yeah.
A bong hit.
I mean, 2 glasses of wine on an island. Nice.
Technically
not illegal.
Or say,
what we want in our master plan.
Now, if you're driving.
It's not like unsafe, it's like.
And then do we want to set a maximum that people can submit?
I think you said 5 on.
Yeah, is that okay with
that's
everyone?
reasonable.
I think so.
I think
That way we're not
5
overloaded.
per person.
I think that's okay.
It gives more variety, I think.
Well, it makes it fair, equitable.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
That's fine.
It gives them, they can do a couple different categories, I guess, too.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe set a policy that you can only win in one category?
Yes.
If that's not in there?
So one category per person.
Yeah.
It depends on the participation level.
Yeah. We could just reserve the right to.
Yeah, maybe we don't have to.
Yeah.
We don't have to say that, but.
Because you have someone who's a professional photographer doing this.
We reserve the right to limit photos in each category.
And we can still use multiple photos from someone in the plan, it's just not necessarily giving them a prize.
Correct.
Yeah. Cool.
Someone ends up with 7 gift cards.
Yeah, what the heck? It's not fair.
So it's one prize per person. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll check on the prize stuff and make those edits and send it out. And then when we send out the flyer, I can also send out, I'll have a link put together so you can all make sure the link looks okay and everything that's on this paper is in there. Cool. All right.
Just the QR code to make sure it's still good.
Yeah, please. My nightmare. Okay, that's all I had on photo contests.
Anyone have any last questions or comments on that?
We have another question. It says winning photos may appear. Aren't they supposed to appear? Wait a minute.
Your photo is so good, we
I
couldn't
won
use
the
it.
prize, but not in the book.
That's funny.
Okay, I'll put will.
Will appear.
Well, maybe some people don't care about the master plan. They want the gift card.
Yeah.
Good, right. Good catch, Linda.
Well,
Maybe this will get
Must
someone to
appear.
want to pick up a printed copy.
Oh my god. Okay. So moving on, we're good. So the other week we talked about the economic development key findings and action items. Were there any lingering thoughts kind of on that? I know we talked a lot about industry growth, like some wayfinding, streetscape improvements, expedited permitting, signage, things like that. Is there anything that you've been thinking about the past 2 weeks that you wanted to bring up to the group again?
Uncharacteristically quiet.
They're so excited for land use.
It's been commented on multiple times, is signage as far as community ongoing, like
Linda has mentioned, like voting and
Town meeting.
And just so people know, and I think in multiple spots, just key spots where you're driving to work in the morning or you're coming home at night. We had mentioned the fire station. That is a tough sign to read, because you're concentrating on family fuels, people, and that's a tough sign. So we need, I kind of like the lit up signs. I don't know how many we actually have in town, but.
You mean the ones that tell you you're speeding, Russ?
I think that's a challenge.
No, the ones that tell you that Oktoberfest means you can't drive through town.
But people not knowing, like, when was town meeting? Oh, that was last week. Are you kidding me? You know?
It's interesting because there are certain towns when they have like a seasonal water ban or watering restrictions. You go down Route 40 in Franklin, and it's right there on a median at an intersection. And so you're stopped, and you see the sign.
What?
And it's a physical sign. It's not an LED. It's a physical sign. So things like that, just where people can see.
And I think it'll also bring more community involvement with other things that are going on in town, you know? Something going on at Soldiers Field or...
Whitenfield's just got a great sign. Right at the lights. Their sign's just...
I know we had talked about a banner over Main Street. That's Main Street's another tough avenue to go down with the crosswalks, especially when it's getting dark or the sun's coming, setting actually. It's just, they got to be in the right spots, that's all.
How about at North and Main, Ross, where the Civil War monument is? Who owns the property right there at the road? Is that town property? Because that'd be a great place for a large sandwich board or...
That's a good question.
Because you're always stopping, waiting to take a left there.
Right.
There was a sign there, but tractor-trailer truck took it out. It said Route 16,
Yeah.
go right.
The thing about those...
We still got the bottom of it.
Yes, a little bit.
Those places where we could place simple signs.
Right, where it's not going to impede driver safety, pedestrian safety, anything like that, and it's going to be seen, you know, you can glance and read it, and...
That would be a good spot.
Let's do that traffic study, what main roads are traveled the greatest, and where you start with those.
Right.
Then go from that point. If there's town property, place had to be set up, you know, but knowing what roads are used the most.
Not town-owned.
Coming in and out, you know.
Maybe a half dozen large sandwich boards.
Well, the highway department would know too.
It could be that simple.
What works best.
Yeah.
I wonder if now's a good time to bring up the landscape architect.
Okay.
Because I did, one of my assignments was to reach out to a landscape architect, so I did contact BSC Group up in Worcester to see if they'd be available to meet with us, and she had a lot of questions that I didn't have answers for, you know, but she said she would recommend that we have a smaller subcommittee, and we put our thoughts together, what we're really looking for in the downtown area. And she mentioned, is it connectivity, pedestrian access, a representative from the businesses, a liaison, and get feedback from the businesses. So we should try to get ourselves a little more focused, and she's available to do a Zoom meeting with the subcommittee meeting, and maybe that would be helpful to, you know, kind of pick their brain when it comes to signage and other things they may recommend that we're not even thinking about, you know.
Anyone interested in becoming a member of temporary ad hoc subcommittee in that regard? What would you call it?
The subcommittee, but yeah, she did mention about if the town planner was involved, and then there's obviously the economic development person should be involved.
Okay.
You know.
Yourself.
And, you know, somebody who's wants to be a liaison or relationships with the local businesses downtown that could,
I would volunteer.
Get some feedback. And so I think if we kind of, as a subgroup,
Usually
get
you
our
pick
thoughts
someone who
together.
didn't show up to the meeting.
Yeah, right. Carol?
That'll teach them.
Hey, guess what?
Hey, they're walking in now.
So she's willing to do this initial meeting, for nothing, and so I thought we should get our thoughts together and get the best bang for our buck, and then she maybe kind of help point us in the right direction, and then to see if it can move on from there, because right now, with regard to signage, we're just kind of guessing. We don't really know, Those are my thoughts.
So this includes things like how wide we want our sidewalks, do we want bump outs, all that
Yeah, we
stuff.
won't get into too much detail, but what are we looking for to do downtown? Now, I know we're limited to what we can do, but, signage, connectivity, what are the businesses looking for? What are,
This is our chance for the tunnel, Bob.
that or the river part comes to fruition, how's it all going to connect? So this is just the very beginning stages of what we may want to be, looking at.
And if we want the downtown area to be revitalized from, say, West Street to north,
Right, how
or
far,
just
what-
Mechanic Street
Yep,
to north.
right.
So we've got
I would, yep.
Russ, we got Bob,
John?
John.
He's like, but I'm here.
You can count me in, I'll be on that.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, Bob.
Maybe, and,
Yeah, that's,
So how
we
many
got
is
this-
that? 4?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Streetscape Study Committee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 5's a good odd.
But that's good.
Say that
okay.
5 times fast.
So then what I'll do is I'll reach out to everybody via email, and then we'll set up a time to meet briefly, maybe here at the town hall, and then set up a Zoom meeting with her at a later date.
sure.
You good?
Now, you mentioned,
Okay.
the first one's free. What's
Yeah.
the next one?
Well, it depends on what the scope of services are, then we have to look at, obviously, grants, funding, whatever, to take it to, and you can break this out into phases. It doesn't, you don't have to go to final design, just phase 1, phase 2, and then,
Now, is this something CMRPC has already?
I don't know that we have it already, but we'd love to participate, be involved. Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk more about this.
That's not enough.
I don't know. It's not a no. Just got to figure it.
We get some,
Yeah.
hours of CMRPC.
Right.
Every year.
Isn't it 20 for the planning board, 20 for the select board? Is it still 20?
It's 12 to 24,
12 to
depending
24.
on.
What's the
Yes,
range?
12 guaranteed, and then if you attend a lot of our meetings, you get even more
Oh,
hours.
Blackmail.
So you want to be in the loop on this?
Yeah, if you could maybe CC me.
Sure, yeah.
Just so I know. Yeah.
Okay. She says the woman I talked to works with you guys quite a bit.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Heather Gould from BSC.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't think we need a formal vote on this, do we, by consensus? Does that work? We'll note it by consensus, no, in the minutes.
Heather's been around a while. She worked in Stoughton.
Oh, yeah, she mentioned you. That's right, she remembers you.
Yeah.
That's right.
In a good way?
Yes.
Okay.
That name sounds familiar.
Could have gone either way.
He bought pizza.
I'm just worried about getting into a situation where we progress to the point where we have no funds to go further.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a meeting at a time, like do the first one,
Yeah,
And
then
talk about expense, and then we have to go from there, I guess. We'll look to you, Bob, frankly,
We're looking to the town
to do your magic.
procurement officer to sign contracts too.
Okay, cool. I want to move on to land use, if that's okay, just so we give Gabe enough time. So I apologize for not sending these out earlier. The 2-week deadline kind of snuck up on me, so.
Thank you.
It's mostly on me. So, yeah, what's the process that you guys usually do to review the chapters?
Just walk through.
Okay, just walk through each section. All right.
You don't have to read it word for word.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, just start with the first key finding.
Okay, cool.
No, I'm just looking at the the third page, Gabe, with the land use map.
Yes.
Really intrigued by that because when you look at options going forward for land use and zoning, I think it's really important to look at, okay, where are we zoned for commercial and industrial? What's the land actually being used for?
Right.
If it's not being used for that, why not?
Right.
You know, in terms of looking at the zoning and the restrictions.
Yeah.
It can help kind of create a map for the future.
Yeah, and I think Sam, so yeah, just, for everyone's information, we included 2 maps. I think we're going to have a 3rd map. The first map is one of my favorites to use in a master plan. It's from 2016, so, it might be a little out of date, but essentially using a combination of satellite imagery and assessor parcel data. The town has records for every parcel, if it's vacant, if there's a house, what kind of house it is, et cetera. I believe the state puts this together, but we have these for every town in our region. But basically, it creates like a map of what the land use is on that area. So as you can see, obviously, you can see the state forest, taking up the eastern third of the town. But then you can also see how, you have these houses and they're kind of built along roads. And while, if you look at a zoning map, like the parcels go back really far, but all those houses are clinging to the road. So it's, yeah.
I apologize. So would it be possible to take a map that focuses on our commercial and industrial zoned areas and take the land use that is kind of zoomed out and kind of focused on those parcels within those non-residential zoning districts?
Yeah.
So we could see what those parcels will be used for and see what parcels are available and what parcels are not currently being used for commercial and industrial in those zones, if any.
Yeah. No, I think that would be pretty easy.
Good.
So I have a more detailed zoning map for myself, but it has, as you can see, it's obviously small, but we have all the little parcels drawn out, so it would be as easy as overlaying a parcel map on top of the land use land cover map, and then we could
easy to read.
And then we could zoom in on different parts of town. So I will I'll talk to Matt, our GIS guy, about getting that put together, and Sam might be able to do that.
Yeah, because you already have the information. Just combining it.
LULC.
The map, the second map, has land below Route 16 in gray, and that is now also part of the state forest.
Is it?
Except for one little parcel.
So where the adult overlay is?
On Webster Line.
Yeah.
And there's only one parcel that's being developed. All the rest of Route 16 is state forest.
Yeah, we will, we can work on...
And then also the other side of Route 16 going north.
Yeah.
I think all of that is now state forest too, like going halfway up.
Okay.
That was where there was going to be that mega landfill in Douglas, but it's now state forest.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
So double check with the assessors.
Yeah. I think this map is from, it looks like it's from 4 years ago. My copy of the zoning map. I don't know about...
Well, this is more like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So... No, we will definitely look at that.
And there's a lot more parcels that you show as state forest. I mean, that you show as white.
That are state forest.
That are state forest now.
Look
South of
for...
28% of the town is state forest. This map is deceiving.
Very deceiving.
What percentage?
Interesting.
20.
How much did you say?
20%?
28, almost 30%.
Third.
Third.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, it's kind of unusual in my experience to have, if you have a state, I mean, obviously it's state forest land, that's not incorrect, but it's pretty unusual to have like the land kind of as its own zone on the map. Usually that usually wouldn't indicate land ownership on a zoning map. It's really more about what it's zoned for. So I don't...
It went to town meeting to call it state forest open space.
Okay.
So it's actually a zone.
Okay, that's good to know.
And also more north of the state forest, I think there's a lot that's fish and game.
Okay.
So that will never be industrial.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
You almost need to start with the forestry map, then say, okay, the rest is Douglas.
Right.
That's the way to do it, really.
Seriously.
They're so cut up. You start with their map, then you say, okay, this is what's left over.
Yeah.
Then we can go from there.
Yeah, I'd have to, John, we would want to get a, because I think this is all also reflected on the, like, this is from the from the town website. We'd want to get a copy of whatever was passed at town meeting that changed the zoning, because that would be.
We did have a minor zoning change at the last town meeting in May.
No, this is all on the Webster line. That 90% of this is wrong. All that industrial land.
Okay. Yeah, so
I mean, it might be zoned industrial, but it's state forest now, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, if it was voted on at town meeting that it's now.
I actually had a
zoned like
conversation with somebody about that a few weeks ago, and it is zoned industrial, but it is state forest. You're right, it is both. And there's a reason for that.
We get a little more money if it's zoned industrial than.
Yeah, I forget what it is, but there's a reason for it.
Yeah, we could do like a
lot more industrial,
Yeah.
which really we don't have.
But it is zoned industrial,
And I brought this up I bring this up in the key findings as one of the zoning. When I saw that on the map, and you go look at the satellite map, it's all forest.
Right.
You're like, what's going on with this big chunk of industrial?
There's no such thing as industrial forest.
I mean, I guess in like Lord of the Rings.
So it looks like,
Industrial.
The trees are made of steel.
Yeah.
Right.
so it looks like part of it, if you look at the assessors, the part that's industrial is owned by technically Commonwealth of Mass, and it's a mix of Department of Conservation and Recreation.
That's state
And,
That's-
no, because if you look, state forest is actually listed as state forest. The assessor's map has it listed as different things.
They haven't updated their
Yeah.
map yet, is what it is.
And then,
Yeah, I mean, the assessor's information that she's looking at should be more up to date than this map, so.
and then the Department of Environmental something, I can't see the full name. Environmental Management.
Yeah.
Those are the two sections that technically Commonwealth of Mass, and those two areas are the two that seem to be
Yeah.
owning
So
the state land.
I think something we could do, and I want to get to the key findings, but I think something we could do is make sure that anything that was voted on at town meeting as state forest land is correct, and expand it if necessary. And then anything that is still technically zoned industrial or rural agricultural that happens to be state-owned, we could do like a little check mark overlay thing. Like if you look at how the adult entertainment overlay district is.
Exactly.
Just some sort of crosshatch over any, maybe in green or something, that's any state-owned land. And that might be helpful. And then you could also look at like municipal land in that too.
So if this is incorrect, then I think the possibility and probability of other errors are in these maps, possibly if they haven't been updated.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're saying, as far as an action item, we really need definitive.
Oh, yeah, I mean.
Updated maps.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to what we're talking about now, I think separately, so I talk about doing like a zoning bylaw review. I think there's a number of zoning district changes that should be happening. But separate from that, I do think the town just needs to correct these maps like before that starts. Especially if we do a bylaw review, we want to make sure we're working off of an accurate map. So, yeah, John, we can.
Yeah,
we can talk, and Matt can do that too. I think generally we often help supply the official town map, but we'll eat into the LPA.
But in order to change the town map, wouldn't,
If
it would have to go
You have
back
to go to town meeting, correct, yes.
But also, if something was passed at town meeting.
Right, but never implemented, you don't have to go to town meeting.
But to make it part of state forest open space zone.
I don't know, I'm not, yeah.
That's
I'd have to look at that.
That's a separate, if you wanted to expand it.
I can't give you a definitive answer now, I'd have to look at what it is.
Then the map could be updated.
What I'm saying is, if this is so out of date, I think just getting it to whatever the most recent town meeting stuff in the past 10, 20 years where things were rezoned, making sure that's all reflected in the map. and then go to town meeting, say we want to rezone this all from industrial to state forest or whatever. Like, so we want, because you can't bring something to town meeting, you want to make sure that you're correcting the incorrect information. You want to make sure you're not, just legally speaking, I think you get into trouble if you're saying, we don't even know what it is, but we want it to look like this. You kind of have to cross out what you're getting rid of, and you want to have like a chain of evidence of what actually was changed over the years.
Aiming at the bullseye, that's all. So
yeah. So I think we can get into the key. Clearly, there are some zoning problems that we will want to tackle. So starting off with the key findings, I think it was suggested by a colleague of mine. So I think this first key finding, we're going to break into multiple key findings just because it's we cover several different topics in this. But I think in summary, looking at the survey results, we can say that residents prioritize conservation of open space, but simultaneously desire additional commercial activity and housing diversity in town, particularly along major corridors. So obviously, conservation is important to Douglas. You have a 5,500 acre publicly owned forest that takes up, almost a third of the town. At the same time, people want to see commercial development to enhance local tax revenue and to increase services and, shopping options for residents. And there's a desire to locate this commercial development downtown and along Route 16. Additionally, there's some concerns about housing affordability in Douglas. So, that would require finding areas of town where you can bring in new housing construction, looking at, smaller sized houses, maybe moderate density multifamily housing that can be more affordable to, first time home buyers and also downsizing older people. So that kind of, like I said, this key finding probably should be broken up into maybe 3 or 4. So just so that it's, but that was kind of a late comment in this process. The second key finding is that the industrial zoning encompassing the northwest corner of Douglas presents potential obstacles and conflicts. We can adjust that maybe based on, hopefully by, in the next month or so, like next few weeks, we can figure out, kind of settle what's going on with the zoning map so we can kind of write an accurate action item. But I mean, when I first looked at this map, it's really just, as a land use person who looks at a lot of zoning maps, it is really concerning to have this industrial area just on top of all this forest, especially if, even if it wasn't state owned, every town I work in, people want to protect the open space, and there's obviously been all sorts of dangers to open space with subdivision development. And Douglas is kind of right in this area where I think, there's this map from Mass Audubon. They have this losing ground study. I don't know if that's been discussed.
That in one of them.
Okay, yeah. So I think that's in the open space and recreation. But, Douglas is kind of right on the edge. You're kind of in a nice location where maybe people haven't paid attention to Douglas too much and haven't really brought crazy pressure. But, developers, yeah. But, yeah, exactly. And, you're in between Worcester and Providence, so I think you want to make sure you kind of get ahead of that and make sure that your zoning bylaws can accommodate that development pressure so that, make sure they're really well written so that you're getting what you want from your residents out of development that might be coming, while also making sure that you're protecting all your open space at the same time. So I think generally the way that we like to look at that is increase protections for the open space areas and then looking at the existing developed parts of town, how to kind of build out more development capacity through zoning changes. And then key finding 3, the zoning map and bylaws are due for updates to improve clarity, consistency, and alignment with current development patterns and to support the town's housing and commercial development needs. It's kind of more on what I'm talking about, looking at increasing the density for particularly housing, but also commercial development along key corridors and in East Douglas so that there's it's less attractive to build housing in the rural parts of town. And then there's a number of kind of in the weeds things that I've noticed looking at the zoning map and looking at the zoning bylaws. One thing is there are a number of split parcels on the zoning map, which is really just very administratively frustrating for planning board and the planning department. This often is because you write the zoning map, so, oh, you're 50 feet out from the road. Well, if the parcel goes back 100 feet, now you have 2 zoning districts in one parcel. So that would be kind of like when you're looking at revising the zoning map, I would say the first step before you talk about making new districts is just to kind of expand those districts into the back of whatever parcel the frontage is on.
Parcels never encourage anything. It just prevents things from happening.
So I think what happened years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, they said 100 feet or whatever down the road.
Yep.
It's made a line.
Yeah.
Because we've had in town meeting some property orders where banks will refuse to work with them.
Yeah.
Because part of their property, say, is industrial, but it's 80% residential.
Right.
And it's just the way the lines were done years ago.
Very
It was straight lines.
It was a straight line.
Yep.
And nobody followed any property lines,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
drew straight lines and said, worry about it later on.
Every town I've worked in, the split zone lots never encourage the development that the town wants. It's basically a hindrance. It basically,
Well, then it can hurt the owners of the
Yes,
property
it can.
also.
Yeah.
Because now you're dealing with 2 separate entities.
Yeah. And the other, I mean, there are some of these, I have the more detailed map with the parcel line. Some of these parcels have 3 different zoning districts, which is very unusual. Usually it's just 2 different zoning districts in a split parcel. So that's kind of up first priority. The second thing, again, kind of in the weeds, I think you have a cool opportunity. You have, down by Wallem Lake, basically along every body of water, you have all these really tiny parcels that are legal parcels. So I think something you could look into is kind of establishing a waterfront zoning, I would say 2 different waterfront zoning districts. One with kind of a focus on those small parcels so that basically you reduce the minimum lot size down to whatever the smallest lot is in that area. And then you're getting rid of, like, you don't encounter variances if someone wants to, build an addition or something like that. And you can kind of play around with the lot lines and the setbacks so that it kind of just is actually a usable lots. And then on top of that, you can kind of make a waterfront zoning district that maybe restricts certain uses to help with, pollution and runoff going into the bodies of water. So I think that would be another thing I'd look at in terms of a new zoning district. Sorry.
Figure too that, all these lots are basically camps.
Yeah.
Right? The lot is about as big as this table.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to put a septic and all that stuff on there. But if you're going to create what used to be 40 camps, and now you've got 200.
And the thing is, that's a great point, because you can fiddle with the dimensional setbacks, but the Board of Health has their own regulations to put a septic system, and it has to be set back a certain amount of feet. So it's great to, you could be flexible in some aspects, but there are some aspects where you can't get around it.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone needs to put a well and a septic, also, they have certain setbacks, so some lots, you may not be able to do everything you want to do on that lot. So that needs to be looked at for sure. And especially with waterfront, you've got nitrogen loading issues. So if you have too many septic systems, you got nitrogen loading into the water, and it can really damage those water bodies.
And I'd say it's probably going to be 100 years before we ever run water and sewer up to the larger bodies of water. So.
But I think the septic and we could also craft the district so that it just is whatever would make sense for septic and well, that's kind of the minimum lot size, something along those lines. And then maybe people could try to merge the lots if they wanted to actually build something out there.
Yeah, and that's tricky because it depends on where the house is located on the lot, and you have to have a setback from the septic to the house, or the well to the septic to the house. So it's a tricky one that's going to take a lot of nuance.
I run into that all the time up there in the Wallem Lake terraces, and all you need is a shack and an outhouse.
Yes.
And you're allowed to put in and that's what they do. They'll put in a year-round house and a septic, and you just barely make 50 feet from your well and the neighbors.
And then something else to look at kind of on two fronts is looking at minimum lot size requirements. Something that's really another unusual thing about the bylaws is for single-family housing, it is either 20,000 square feet lot minimum or 90,000 square feet lot minimum. Most communities, they will have, going from like the center of town out to a rural part of town, they'll have maybe 2 or 3 different jumps where you go from like quarter acre, half acre, acre, 2 acres. The jump from like under half an acre to over 2 acres is pretty substantial. And again, just along with the split zoning, it's just kind of indicative of, there's a lot of thought that could go into this to kind of improve the bylaws.
Yeah, and just to expound upon that a little,
Yeah.
I'm sure John will agree that in Douglas, there's no shape factor. So you have to have the 90,000 square feet. So the front part of the property, you got, but then you have these big long tails.
Right.
Or their dog leg.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So developers, they maximize
Yeah.
that out with these big long tails. So you have 5 lots and everybody's got a tail that's worth an acre. That's
Right.
useless property.
Yeah.
Pizza shape.
Even worse.
And you could look at, in certain parts of town, I think with your zoning map, we should kind of, there's a degree to which we could kind of do a clean slate approach and just see what would make sense.
But don't you think a shape factor would be beneficial?
Or maybe even in some parts of town having increased frontage requirements.
Well, I don't know, if you got 200 feet of frontage.
Yeah.
If you have a shape factor, so to eliminate those.
Well, there are certain flexibilities that our regulations offer too, like, for instance, the regulations allow for, they call it here, a reduced lot frontage lot, estate lot, flag lot, they have different names, but they allow it to be part of an A&R plan. Not every town does that, so it's not a special permit. A lot of towns require a special permit for estate lots. Rutland does that, other towns do that, where it's not done here, so that is a flexibility that's offered to developers that is not necessarily offered in other towns, where it's not even a site plan review, it's not even a special permit, it's just part of an A&R.
Isn't that residential compound too?
I'm not as familiar with residential compounds.
Oh.
No, I'm talking about flag-shaped lots with a minimum 40-foot frontage where it opens up.
Like a driveway up to
Correct.
a full lot.
You can contest to it. This has been brought up at the planning board.
By right.
About redoing all that, and it all got shot down. The main reason being is the town is already so kind of divided up. For a lot of houses, and people weren't able to buy a house lot or have a house lot if the current design isn't just left alone, where there's back property, but you need the small lot or small frontage to get up there, and it makes those tail lots, whatever you want to call, that's the only way you're going to get there.
Well, and the other thing is, we went through this with a very recent A&R, because they proposed a flag-shaped lot, and the assumption is that they're going to run the driveway up that thin, narrow 40-foot frontage to their lot. Well, we had one where they proposed an easement for a driveway across another lot to access the back part of that lot. Currently, we don't have anything in our regulations that prevents that. Some towns do have regulations that require that you can only access your lot through your own frontage, but nothing in our regulations prevents that from happening.
And sorry.
Are you suggesting that we look into that? And
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that's another flexibility.
It's come up.
But that could be a discussion as far as whether or not the town wants to go there.
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that, Michael? What are your thoughts on that? Crossing
Either way,
someone?
you have to look at the whole picture. I can understand on the landowner's sake where you own the land. You have the right to sell your land and build something behind it. It's just on a group input on how everybody feels on getting access to that property.
So if the person who has the easement wants to move into this town, but the owner doesn't agree to it, the person that has the easement says, no, I'm buying that lot behind you, and I'm going up my easement, and now it's my driveway. So
if I can, my understanding is, number one, it's pretty hard to stop an A&R, and you don't have to show an easement on the A&R.
It's very hard to stop.
So what it is you can do an A&R, and then if you already own all the property, you go ahead, do a deed and have an easement.
Well, then it's a civil issue then.
Yeah.
So there's, you see where I'm going? So there's other ways that can be done.
What's the name on it?
Approval not required, and so it doesn't need subdivision approval. We are the only state in the country that still has it.
Subdivision, you're building a road, A&R, there's a road.
But I've seen instances where somebody has 6, 7, 8 A&R lots along a roadway. Just because you're not building a roadway, but that's the definition of a subdivision. If you're not constructing a new roadway, it's technically not a subdivision. But you tell me, 8 houses, 8 A&R lots on a roadway, is that going to impact a neighborhood? Especially Orange Street, where it's a dirt road? Absolutely. So I'm not crazy about A&Rs. I know there was some talk years ago about land use reform where they would be considered minor subdivisions. That never went anywhere. There was also talk about eliminating supermajority for zoning bylaw, the supermajority at town meeting for zoning bylaws, which I would love. But that never
It happened for housing.
It happened for housing.
Yeah.
But that's it.
I think that what Mark was talking about was kind of the opposite. It's not just a cut for a driveway. You've got a house on the street, and you've got this little tail that goes out to,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And right now, our regulations, that's allowed.
That's allowed.
Because of the non-lot, because
Oh,
of
I
the
get
lot
it.
shape factor,
I get
yeah,
it.
lack of
Yeah.
lot shape factor, and the lack of the restriction of accessing through your own frontage.
Right, and as long as they get
Yeah.
And then plus some...
minimal square footage for the
And
lot.
again, just from my time in the town, it seems like a majority of people in Douglas err towards less regulation than more regulation. That's just the sense I get.
Another factor is, there's a lot of wetland, but there are high islands. They're going to cut the lots out on how to get there, and no matter what they look like, so.
So if they, that flag shape there, and there was 40 acres in the back, whatever, they could subdivide that, they could make a little strip, a new road, really, and that would be A&R applicable and someone would develop.
Potentially, yeah, because the frontage requirements for an A&R are very, very loose. You could gain frontage from an ancient way, potentially, that's not even, that's a path through the woods. Now you have access issues, and the planning board can deny an A&R due to lack of adequate access, but they could gain legal frontage from what's called an ancient way.
You mean a paper road?
That could be a paper road.
And it doesn't come under the width, grade, and construction criteria?
That's another thing. Now, the fire department could say, no, you can't, you could get an A&R lot, but then at the building permit process, it could be kicked back because of lack of adequate access. Yeah.
But to your point about phasing out the lot sizes, is another example, and frontage,
Yeah.
for example. I mean, you made a comment that going from a small lot to a big lot immediately, and we could make that better. It's like, well, better implies that having more lots is better.
Yeah.
And so, because there's various opinions here where like, no, we want to keep it rural. And maybe
Right.
keep it more difficult.
And that's why the comment in this document, I realize somebody said this, but they said there's nothing to attract people to town. From what you're saying, you disagree. The rural character is what attracts people to Douglas.
Right.
So what do they mean by that? There's nothing to attract people. What do you mean? Market Basket, a Walmart? What do you mean by that? Because a lot of people come to Douglas for the rural character, so maybe those lot sizes are the reason people come to Douglas.
And then they
Yeah,
complain that there's no market basket.
What's that?
And then they complain that there's no market basket.
Yeah.
Oh, I begrudgingly go to Market Basket because of the, it's the most stressful part of my week.
And they're always busy. It doesn't matter when you go.
Yeah, no kidding.
I have PTSD because I ended up there right before a storm on accident.
Oh, God. You're still in therapy, aren't you?
I will not go back there because of that one experience.
Believe me, we go to the one in Bellingham, and we do this as we drive in. Please let us not get arrested today.
It's funny.
So I'm going to move on.
I didn't warn Douglas master plan.
You guys are actually, you're a lot of fun.
Just so you all know, I'm still listening and enjoying the discussion. Still good discussion.
We haven't heard him snoring yet. That's good.
So in light of these key findings, I've put together several action items. I think the first one, which again a lot of discussion here is kind of a predecessor to this is to do a comprehensive zoning bylaw diagnostic and rewrite. I work on those a lot with other communities. You would put together a committee, usually planning, ZBA, select board members, and, whoever else you wanted to include.
There are two things that town planners dread and hope to avoid: a master plan rewrite, which I got lucky, I came in, it was already going, and a rewrite of the zoning bylaws. Thank you.
But it does give you kind of the opportunity to take your time and go through the entire document and have kind of these in-depth discussions that we've started having about what to do about the different zoning districts and how to approach different uses. And obviously everything has to go through town meeting, but you do it does give you kind of this holistic view that I think the planning board sometimes, they don't necessarily have the time to look at in the same way, and or the
Isn't
funding.
planning board currently updating their zoning bylaw?
We're updating subdivision rules and regs.
Oh,
Yeah.
just subdivision?
Yeah.
Right now. So, if I can, go through the chair. It has been brought up in the past to look at the zoning map. But as you know, there's been personnel changes and things over the last couple of years. So that kind of stuff has been put on the back burner. It's not as important as other items. But that has been brought up about the maps where half a lot, one lot with 3 zones in it, to take a look at it. Just that it hasn't been.
Well, I'm talking about the whole zoning
I
bylaw.
gotta tell you, another challenge is you start to plan on changing your zoning bylaws, and the wonderful state drops another unfunded mandate on something you have to add to your zoning bylaws, like the accessory dwelling units, things like that. So it's a challenge to try and organize your zoning bylaws, and then you have to react to something the state says, oh, you have to do this by such and such a date. So now you have to drop that and focus on that. So it's a challenge.
The process would give you like staffing so that likely a CMRPC staff member would be kind of overseeing the process, actually doing the bylaw construction and bringing it to the committee and kind of meeting monthly or so. And can kind of has the time and energy to, if new things come from the state, okay, we're going to make sure to incorporate that through this process. Again, this stuff that I think town planners wish they could accomplish, but don't necessarily have their own staff to do that.
Yeah, and it depends what it is, because when I was in Stoughton, that's when the MBTA community guidelines came out, and I was in a community that has a commuter rail station within walking distance of City Hall, of Town Hall rather. So we were in the most intense type of community for multifamily housing. So that process alone took 2.5 years just to do that bit of zoning. So that's what I mean. It's like, you have a comprehensive rewrite, which can take anywhere from a year, year and a half, whatever, because it's very intensive. Then you have something that the state brings you that also takes a year and a half to 2 years to figure out. So yeah, having CMRPC's assistance is huge.
Yeah.
But nobody knows what the future holds and what the state might come up with next.
Yeah.
So this is your career of choice, John?
I was dropped on my head as a child.
It's almost like being a mechanic.
So something else. So another action item that I think we can. I know it might be a little controversial, but
what is it?
But looking into establishing design guidelines that you can use through the site plan review and special permit process. So having worked on the MBTA zoning, the state my understanding of how the approach to design guidelines work is that the town can't refuse a by right application based on the use. That is the case with special permit uses. You can deny it if you don't like it. With by right, with site plan review,
I would push back on that. You can't deny it because you don't like it. There are certain thresholds that have to be met. Yeah, so.
But you can't, with a by right use, you can't deny it based on the use. But the town, my understanding, looking at how some other towns have done this, is that the town does have quite a bit of leeway in terms of if the design guidelines are well stated and fair and kind of across the board, the town can impose certain design guidelines on the applicant.
So the difference between guidelines and regulations, that's where I get confused, because from what I understand, design guidelines are just that, they're recommendations, where a project can't necessarily be denied because it doesn't meet the design guidelines. Regulations yes, a project could potentially be denied because it doesn't meet the design regulations. So could you explain the difference between guidelines and regulations?
Yeah, so actually, I would recommend for this, the South Hadley bylaws, I think, if you look at their site plan review process, I would say that is an example of the regulations. And then their bylaws also reference for one of their business districts that they have district-specific design guidelines. And so essentially, my understanding is, if you look at their site plan review, there's a number of categories where it says you shall do X, Y, Z. And then when it looks at the design guidelines for the district, it says in this business district, you should implement this, and the planning board can consider this in the application. However we want to word it, I think I'm more interested in doing design regulations at the end of the day.
I would agree, because if we're going to take the time to create design standards, to have something that has some teeth to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if not, then why do it?
Yeah.
I think that this talk, or maybe it was trying to be passed at town meeting, had been done at one time, and it either went down in flames or it was just abandoned, because nobody wanted it was like for the 146 corridor here. We, no metal buildings, and we want the windows to all be the same in every building, and that did not go over well.
Yeah, because again, a lot of people in Douglas tend to err towards less regulation than more regulation. So,
and kind of on that topic, I think what's useful, so another element, again, talking about the subdivision rules and regulations, my understanding is that the planning board can adopt design guidelines just through a public hearing process, and they wouldn't have to bring it to town meeting.
They can, but again, I'm not a big fan of adopting guidelines if they're just going to not be enforceable.
Yeah.
But
I do think you can, my understanding is you can put language in the bylaws that references the guidelines and says you have to accommodate the guidelines, but the guidelines are kind of...
I'd have to see how that ties with site plan review.
Planning board rules,
Because site plan review is almost, you talk about difficult to deny an A&R, it's just as difficult to deny site plan review, because it's not meant as a denial mechanism. So we'd have to make sure that that those things jive. It's something that the planning board can point to and can say, well, we recommend you do this, and the developer says, well, I don't want to.
Yeah.
So...
We'd rather have it at sometimes, how would you say, it's that fine line, is what it is.
So because
you don't want to be restricted, but yet you want to keep appearances right.
Yeah.
So it's one of those deals where you don't want to tie a guy down saying we need to do all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yet you don't want it to look like a dump when it first opens up.
and
so it's going to be done as long as it's done in fairness and agreement amongst many people. Then I think it would be good to make it, like you said, not a guideline, but this is what you must do.
Yeah. And I think when people talk about design regulations or design guidelines, I think a lot of people just jump to like those towns, there's a couple towns that I'm blanking on where they are, like on the Cape, where they're able to get the whole street to look the same, that sort of thing.
Wooden signs, it's awesome.
Yeah, wooden signs, stuff like that. And it can be beautiful, but I think what I'm more interested in, especially in a town like Douglas, which it's not like you have this, all these buildings that are all in the historic district along your main street. I think looking at kind of more basic stuff, like you want to make sure that the stormwater is correct for parking lots. You want to put the parking behind the building so that you kind of have more of a main street area.
Consolidate curb cuts as much as possible.
Right, building siting and massing and setbacks. Things like that aren't, that's not kind of the cool part of a design guideline. Oh, we're going to have the right shingles or whatever, but kind of
that's what you were talking about.
Is that something that could be more enforceable, say in the downtown area?
So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Downtown to look,
because that's something you can dictate, and again, Stoughton did that as part of MBTA guidelines, is parking has to be behind the building. The first floor, only a certain percentage of the first story in the town center can be used for parking. They want the storefronts to be a business. They don't want the entire first story to be parking. parking, it has to be behind, things
Yeah.
like that.
And in the state's model, because I've done the MBTA stuff in a few communities, the state's model MBTA bylaws, which are intended to allow this stuff by right, it's intended to, get this stuff built eventually, they have these design regulations in them. That's in the default bylaw you get from the state for MBTA. So it's definitely an option for the town to explore.
Sturbridge does this already.
Yeah.
That's considered their downtown.
Yeah.
You ride by a CVS, every CVS in the state looks the same, except in Sturbridge.
Yeah.
You drive right by it.
Yeah.
But they have a limit on their signs, small signs, no big signs.
Their design of the
And not
sign.
out front, and you have to, the front of the building facing Route 20 has to be a specific criteria.
I mean, if you look at 6A down the Cape, that's an intertown historic district, from Sandwich to Brewster or beyond. But sometimes it's simple stuff, like you said, it's parking in the back, landscaping in the front, not self-lit signs. And they get into design too, traditional designs and stuff, but boy, it looks great.
Yeah, and the town kind of, my only point is, outside of use regulations, the town does have, this is why I think it would be useful to talk about when we do a zoning review, maybe adjacent to that, look at doing some sort of design guideline for certain districts. And I like the idea that you can kind of do this district specific, and then you could also have it kick in for certain developments. So maybe for multifamily over a certain size, for certain size commercial, you want to make sure that the landscaping and the siting of the building is not going to ruin the area. So just moving on, another suggested action item kind of in mind with protection of open space and agricultural land is to look into doing a transfer of development rights bylaw. So basically, it would be establishing, kind of encoding where the town wants to conserve land and where the town wants to see development go. And essentially, the parcels associated with increased protection are part of a sending district, and they can basically sell their development rights to a receiving district, and it kind of is enshrining, like through market mechanisms, that you can have increased development in certain parts of town and less development in other parts of town, but you do that without, you're kind of giving an incentive to a rural landowner not to develop their own land in the rural area.
I'd love to see examples of towns this size where this has been successful, because this has been brought up in various communities.
Yeah.
And in my experience, this works best in towns like Stoughton that have an established downtown district or have multiple non-residential zoning districts, because in a town like Douglas, the commercial industrial is so limited. How would this work? How does someone who owns a piece of land out here in residential, don't they have to own both parcels to transfer development rights one from the other? And how does that work? It's always seemed extremely complicated to actually execute this and pull it off.
Yeah, and this was just a thought, but I tend to agree. I think it's a cool idea, and I'm happy to, through this process, explore if it would work in Douglas, but this also does come up in a lot of master plans, and I don't know where it's been implemented.
Good, I'm glad you said that, because I'm like,
that's out there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure this would be effective in Douglas, but again, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
So if you can come up with examples.
Yeah, and I think something I don't know. Looking at TDRs, I think for this part of the state, it might be worth it might be more of a regional thing that needs to be looked at, but going way beyond a local master plan.
Yeah.
Another thing that I think would be pretty straightforward, and I kind of wish the farm guys were all still here. Basically promoting and encouraging agricultural protection restrictions to preserve open space and rural character. Essentially, the state will give landowners money so that they will put their lots into a permanent deed restriction.
I like that.
Yeah, so that basically it has to stay as agricultural land. There's also options. You can do it as forest land, and it's a way for. Sorry?
Not to interrupt. I think Connecticut does something on that aspect where they forfeit their building rights.
Yeah.
They can still use their property, but it can't
it's
ever be built.
very similar. I don't know if there's any chapter land in Douglas, but if you go out west in our region,
field area. That way.
Yeah, or even Rutland, Hardwick.
And that's a big problem in Rutland is a lot of the old farms are being sold off for very large subdivisions. They have multiple subdivisions right now that are in process that are 100 to 150 lots, and you want to talk about having a huge impact on the town. That's
And I think for me, because I did a lot of work in Rutland, and I think that's like something I want to help other towns avoid.
Yeah.
But the APR stuff, I mean, it would be pretty, especially if you guys get an agricultural commission, that would be a really good project for the AgCom to just, we're going to do outreach, send letters to landowners, let's have an event you can get someone from like Department of Agriculture, or someone from Central Mass Grown to an event and just kind of talk. Because when we did something like that in Rutland with their AgCom on a district local technical assistance project, and they got out landowners, and these people weren't even farmers, but they were like, oh yeah, like why wouldn't I do that? I didn't even know these things were an option. I own 20 acres. I'm not doing anything with it. Let's like lock it down.
Is it a permanent restriction? Mm-hmm. Does the state have ownership in the land? Is that how it works? Is it a deed restriction?
I don't.
Because they're giving them the difference between market value and fair market value for development versus fair market value for, as you state here.
Yeah.
Agricultural use.
No, I think it still stays under the ownership of the landowner.
I think it might be possible when it's sold, whether they get first right. Once it
might
goes
be
up for
something
sale,
like that.
The property goes for sale.
I see.
I haven't worked on that in a couple of years, but it might be. But my understanding is the landowner still retains ownership.
Mm-hmm.
But then if they sold it they have a house, they want to sell the house. It's the same setup where you can have the house, but you can't go, build a condo there. And then something else that might make sense, kind of looking at helping to expand sewer and water infrastructure as part of the application process. If you're talking to developers early in the application process, and this doesn't just apply to infrastructure, but I think it could be useful for infrastructure because I know that's a concern in Douglas, but kind of have like a pre-application meeting with the developer, specifically to focus on if the property can connect to town water and sewer, what the costs of establishing a water and sewer connection might be, and if the town could help the developer source grant funding to assist with a hookup. So that might be an opportunity for the town to kind of get ahead of that issue with an application.
The tricky part of that is timing.
Yeah.
Because grants take time.
Yeah.
And developers want things yesterday. So, that's the timing can be tricky with that.
Yeah. But even just kind of getting ahead of the app, any hookup issues ahead of time. And I know some zoning bylaws also have like pretty specific requirements that you have to do a connection if you're within if you're in a reasonable distance from the town system. So that could be another tool to kind of force the issue.
One thing you might want to think about, and I'm speaking for the water sewer department systems manager, a lot of our pipes in the ground right now are 100+ years old.
Yeah.
The water projects we've done within the last 3 years have replaced a lot of the old pipes with new pipes, increasing the size. The economic development along the Route 146 corridor, we took 6-inch mains, which were one was 107 years old.
Probably like
it was down to a 2-inch pipe with a tuberculation through 107.
Wow.
That is now a brand-new 12-inch main. This entire system is so old, it's tough to expand and add to it without taking care of what's going to be there already soon.
It's kind of like the MBTA commuter rail.
We've had, I believe, 18 water main breaks from Main Street to the tank up near Church Street. Within the last 3 years, I think 18 major breaks, 3 of which were just patched.
Wow.
Didn't another one across from the VFW break twice?
I think 3 times. It was 3.
Oh, 3 times. That one by its.
Jeez.
And one right at the intersection near the gazebo.
Yeah.
There's a blinking light.
Wow.
So it's not just as simple as expanding water to get these new developments to connect.
Yeah.
It's kind of taking care of what we have.
Right. Right.
Maintaining it.
Yeah.
So do we, if I could, do we have a de facto infrastructure master plan with that, identifying all these issues and sort of chunking it out?
Yeah, I know 2 communities have done that.
That's a good action item.
Yeah. Infrastructure master plan, that's a good idea.
What's been updated and what is still old. Sure.
The water sewer department would have all that.
They should, yeah.
They do have that.
Something else, just because I see we're after 7, I want to get through this. It sounds like you guys are already doing a subdivision.
Yeah, but not, some of these things, low-impact development, I have a pet peeve on this because, yeah, it's, I've been accused of being a tree hugger. I'm sorry if I like to breathe, okay? Yes, I like trees because we get our oxygen from trees. So, and like I said, not industrial forests either. So, just because I try to protect trees must mean I'm a tree hugger, okay? But it's a big pet peeve of mine when the first thing a developer does on an A&R lot, or even before, someone will just arbitrarily clear the trees off their lots, and they can do that by right, and there's nothing we can do to stop them. So how do we control the taking down of trees? It's almost impossible for a town to do that, because anyone has the right to take down all the trees on their property, and I know, I've heard developers in this town have done it for spite to a neighbor. They've taken, the neighbor has given them a hard time on a development, so they'll go down and clear cut the trees on the lot next to them just to piss them off. So what can towns do about it? That's the million-dollar question for me, is what do we do about it?
I do think there are ways through site plan review, you can basically say you have to show that you did the minimum viable clearance, basically. That you got rid of as few trees as possible so that you could build what you wanted to build within our rules. So I think there are options you could implement through subdivision and through
The
site
only
plan.
hard part with that, and I see it firsthand, is I agree with some of that. Normally, though, there's so much activity and movement around, every tree that's left within 3 years is dead. Now you have dead
It's not just the trees,
trees
it's the
hanging over
root system.
and everything else. So it sounds real good, but it's pretty hard to implement.
It is,
The thing is, you're better off, I hate to say it, go and do your clearing. Now you put some back.
Yeah.
When it's done.
Yeah.
You don't do it, and I'm just saying that if you're out there in the real world, you see this.
Yeah.
Where we're going to save this tree, we're going to save that tree and that tree. Come back in 2 years and see how many of those trees are still there.
And even the issue with that, Mike, is with a new subdivision, they plant saplings. You're knocking down a 50-year-old tree, replacing it with a sapling that doesn't create and who's going to take care of that tree? Towns don't want to take care of street trees and subdivisions, so you put it on the private property because the town doesn't want to maintain it. Now you're counting on that person to water a sapling that may have to be cared for. And I have a couple new plantings in my yard. One only needed guide wires for like the first year. I have one that I need to keep the guide wire on for 3 years, so it takes a lot of care beyond a year. You're putting people on the honor system. So that's
It's a tough call.
It is a tough call. So again, it's one of those things that everyone can agree upon, but how do you implement it? How do you enforce it? You know?
And then I talked about the infrastructure expansion possibility that we can cut that if that would be too difficult. Yeah. And then you can also kind of create, you guys have the flexible development option.
Yeah.
Does that encourages open space?
Yeah, you have to maintain a minimum of 40%.
Yeah. So I think also looking at the subdivision rules and kind of trying to create, there are, many towns have like these open space development rules, kind of how to make that the preferred choice for a developer.
What we're including in our changing is, one thing to have open space, is access to it. So we're now going to be requiring parking areas. If you're going to do that, you're going to need a spot for people to park, so you can use it.
Yeah.
Right now, you might have it, but how do you get there?
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
Which is useless.
But again, to Dan's point, does the town want that to be the preferred choice of subdivision? To have smaller lots closer together, and with this right to farm thing. I worked in the town of Rainham, and someone in an open space preservation subdivision with smaller lots close together wanted to have beehives on their property, until those bees fly to someone's pool during the summer and don't allow them to use their pool. So again, it's kind of a catch-22. You're putting people close together in open space design, but people want to keep animals and this and this and this. You're putting them close together, but trying to jam more on a lot and allow more on a lot. It sometimes doesn't work. You need the space. So
Catch-22.
Catch-22.
And like Margaret was saying again too, now you've got you've got 2 acres of land, but you've got a half acre that you're throwing your house on, and you've got a tail that goes out back, and you've got, you know, 6 lots like that, that look like that, and yeah, you're, essentially, you've got a 2 acre lot, but you've got 6 houses jammed on, you know, 3 acres.
Yeah.
You know, essentially.
Yeah.
So, it is, it's tough.
Something else is to look at the off-street parking regulations.
I don't think we really have off-street parking requirements.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something that.
And I think there's a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah.
You can do stuff with landscaping and, you know, site design to encourage, you know, basically reduce water runoff. Like I said, I think the waterfront zoning really needs to be looked at for like some of these really small lots. And then also looking at the dimensional regulations, again, to encourage housing development in developed parts of town while limiting housing development in rural parts of town.
If I might, this might not be the place to plug it in.
Yes.
We're looking to help expand off-street parking downtown.
Yeah.
We do own some properties here and there downtown, and we know that that's one of the elements in trying to develop a vibrant downtown, off-street parking. So hopefully somewhere that's going to be an action item along the way.
I think, that might go under transportation.
Go under so many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put it under all of them, so it's like.
We may have touched on it, but that's sort of important.
My answer to.
And then one last thing I might.
I'm a married man. I realize every day's special.
I can circle back on it with John, but I think one other thing that is kind of, right now the sign bylaws in the general bylaws, and usually they're in zoning bylaws, so.
Yeah.
That's my preference.
That was by design.
Okay.
Subcommittees met, I don't know how long we met for, before that was all gone over and done. That was quite a few years ago.
So what was the decision made to keep those out of zoning and put them in general instead?
This was a decision made back then. I don't know, I can't answer everything on it.
Yeah,
it's more of a confusion thing because obviously when the planning board considers something like the cubes at Gilboa or a non-residential project that requires signs, sign review is part of site plan review. Right. So it just makes sense to have it, I think, the sign bylaw part of zoning bylaws.
I was on that subcommittee probably 15 years ago.
It's been a long time.
But it wasn't just for commercial signs.
Correct.
It was for
there are residential signs as well.
Somebody had a
private signs.
Sign on their house.
And this and that.
They were allowed to,
the original,
do that in their home. It was for them to put a sign out, not some big garage lighted.
Right, it doesn't change the regulations. I just, in my experience,
most towns have it in zoning.
Most towns have it in their zoning bylaws.
And I think the reason, if I'm not mistaken,
it's not to change the regulations.
Was with times changing, we didn't want to have to go to town meeting every time something new came up where it could be handled with the planning board.
Plus, the planning board was very busy, very busy back then.
And it was being a 7-member board, they took faith on the planning board to handle anything they came up with the signage.
So that would seem to me, if someone changed the sign bylaw, shouldn't that go to town meeting?
Well, there were a couple issues there. One was size. And people want to put in these giant signs, giant political signs, come to find out they can.
Right.
Yeah, because
freedom of speech just can't be, it can't block sight lines or be a danger because it's a structure. But the original sign bylaw was trying to help eliminate self-lit signs downtown. And they sort of took that all out. They were supposed to be wooden signs, lit, something looking a little better.
Had to do with
a little more upscale.
Yeah.
Not Pottersville, but the other town. What's the other town? Not Pottersville.
Bedford Falls.
Never mind.
It's right next to the industrial forest.
Well, this isn't Pottersville. What's that Christmas movie with Jimmy Stewart?
Oh, It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, It's a Wonderful Life.
It's two different towns. One's really nice, one's not so nice. Right? We want to be the nice one.
Just to make a comment, Rich, what you had mentioned, some of the downtown properties we own, I think it might be influential if we include them in the conceptual downtown plan.
I know what he meant.
I don't know.
That's landscaping plan. It's a landscaping plan.
Because he's talking about off-street parking and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So it just might be, just to show it.
Right, and before we end this meeting, maybe the streetscape committee can meet for just 2 minutes after this meeting, so we can figure out when we're going to meet? Okay?
Sounds good.
2 minutes.
Committee, do we have anything
Motion
else?
to adjourn.
Before they roll into something else. You've asked enough questions tonight.
Yeah, you're on overtime.
You're past your quota. Yeah.
I tried.
The second half here.
I'll make a motion to accept the 2026 meeting minutes for master plan.
Meeting.
Seconded.
Meeting schedule.
Meeting schedule?
You're approving minutes that haven't happened yet. That's proactive.
So we have a motion on the table to approve the schedule, and a second by Rebecca. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those- Oh,
Bob,
Are you still there?
the piano's there.
I hear him breathing.
Bob, come back from the
Thank you.
refrigerator.
I'm good. I'm good.
He's just sitting there eating popcorn.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed, those abstaining.
Celtics game just started.
Motion to adjourn.
Made by Rebecca,
Second.
second by Ross. All those in favor? Go in peace.
Is that a vote for the downtown subcommittee to adjourn? Okay.
Yeah.
You're like, get me out of here.